Welcome friends, welcome back to the kitchen and Sunday morning and the Old Cookbook Show. Today we're going to do another donut recipe out of the Five Roses Cookbook. And this one was published in 1915. And the recipe we're going to do today is molasses donuts. So we'll start off with some molasses. Now it doesn't say what kind of molasses to use, so I'm going to start out with some fancy molasses and see if I can make up an entire cup. I don't think I can. I've got some cooking molasses, and hopefully between the two cartons I'll be able to get enough. Okay, just enough. Put that into our mixing bowl. Now if you like blackstrap molasses, you could certainly use all blackstrap molasses or all cooking molasses. And if you're not a huge fan of molasses flavor, then I would suggest using the fancy molasses. At least those are the grades that we have here in Canada. And a second note, for all of the eagle-eyed people who love to look at my measuring cups and say that I'm measuring incorrectly, this is 1915 Canada, and in 1915 Canada, we used a different sized measuring cup than 2020 Canada, and in both cases, it's a different size measuring cup than is used in the United States. So, sometimes you look at it and you go, oh, your measurements are all wrong. They're not wrong, they're different. Now, next in, it asks for buttermilk. And so this is 105 years ago, and it's asking for buttermilk. But it's not asking for this buttermilk. It would be asking for the actual liquid left over from churning butter, which is thin and clear. It's almost clear yellow, kind of looks like apple juice. And so I know you've heard me say this before, but this is not the liquid left over from churning butter. This is 1% milk that's been inoculated with different bacteria and allowed to ferment. And the reason I know that this cookbook is asking for that clear yellow liquid is because one recipe over, it asks for sour milk. And in the parlance of 1915, this would be considered sour milk. Milk that's left out, bacteria gets in, it starts to ferment, and it turns it sour. The commercial buttermilk that you get at a grocery store today in Canada is that fermented sour milk. It's just done in a very controlled way. That was 2 eggs that I just put in there. This is some ground ginger and some melted butter. Now, it doesn't give really any mixing instructions, so I'm just going to use a whisk and try to bring this together a little bit before I start adding the flour. Okay, so we have reached the point in the recipe that drives some people up the wall. Those people that need to micromanage the ingredients down to the milligram find this very disturbing. The recipe doesn't tell you how much flour to use. It just tells you to add flour until you get to a soft dough. So I'm going to start out with a couple of cups of flour, sort of. I'm not really measuring because the intent of this recipe is just to make it happen. I'm going to stir those in, see where I get, and then just keep adding a little bit of flour at a time until I reach that soft dough stage. Okay, I think I've got a soft dough. Having never made them before and having never watched anyone make them before, it's kind of hard to tell based on the directions. But the next direction is to roll out and fry in hot lard. So I've got a pot of hot lard going. It's 345 degrees Fahrenheit right now. And we'll see if that's hot enough. It's kind of in the right spot. And I've got a little bit of flour on the bench. I've got a donut cutter. I'm going to keep that in the flour. I'm going to put this out onto the bench and we'll roll it out and see what happens. This is going to make a lot more donuts than I really want. And into the hot oil. And I'm going to assume that when they float to the top, they are done. So out onto a rack to drain and cool.
More donuts, more donuts!
No, don't get excited just yet. I had high hopes for these molasses donuts.
They look good. Well, they look, actually, now that I'm looking at it, they look kind of weird.
They do look kind of weird. So this recipe has no leavening agent at all. There's no baking soda, no baking powder, no yeast.
Okay. So is it like a cookie?
They don't look very appetizing.
Okay. Yeah, they look really wrinkly.
They do look really wrinkly.
Or
They don't react like any donut I've ever had. Now this may be exactly what they're supposed to be.
okay. They are a chewy molasses thing.
Ginger. Molasses and ginger and
I would not call them a donut.
no. It's like a deep fried gingerbread.
I think if you added more ginger,
Yeah.
it's like a chewy, soft, chewy gingerbready thing. So
Yeah.
for those of you who aren't supposed to eat gingerbread because it's too hard,
Maybe.
you know what I mean?
Is it?
I'm still going to have a problem with these like I did with the donuts. Because I like molasses and ginger together, and I think this with a cup of tea would still be absolutely fabulous. Of course, we say that about a lot of things, right? Oh, let's have a cup of tea. But
Dunking these would be great.
I think if you sell them as donuts, though,
This is not a donut.
there are going to be a lot of sad people.
If you're looking for that light, fluffy, Krispy Kreme
No.
type donut,
This is
not it.
a heavy cake,
Heavy cake, yeah.
almost more like a loaf. It's got the same kind of texture like a banana loaf or a zucchini
Yeah,
loaf kind
yeah.
of thing to it, right? So, except in small,
It's
deep
got a
fried
lot of
rings.
flavor. Doesn't look very nice.
No, hold on a sec. That could be partly us as well.
Oh, no.
Let's own some of that.
it is
Our
completely-
inability to actually.
It is
you know,
completely me. It didn't say
I
how
have so
much
much
flour
sugar.
to put in, and so I ended up with a dough that was probably too wet. And I might have been able to put more flour in, but I was treading that line between not enough and too much.
More flour might have made it really stiff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Maybe it was supposed to be less flour. Maybe it was supposed to be really soft and gooey. No?
I never would have got it off the bench.
Okay. What do I know? I wasn't here. Okay, so there you go.
Be very sure this is what you're looking for. Yeah. Be very sure this is what you're looking for. It's a good experiment.
I will agree that not everyone's going to like this.
Yep. It's a good sort of peek behind the curtain of what was going on in 1915. There's probably a reason I've never heard of this. There are probably people out there who still have these regularly, because we often hear from pockets of people around Canada and the United States that say, that never went away from us.
Our family still makes them.
Our family still makes them. So if you are in that group of people, please let us know. And if you know what I did wrong,
Or maybe this is exactly what they're supposed to be
Maybe
like.
this is what they're
Because, as we said, I like them. Because I like molasses, I like ginger, I
Yep.
like cake. I'm good with that.
yeah. Okay, so thanks for stopping by. See you again soon.
I wholeheartedly like these.
Okay. They're just not what I expected.
So you're not going to eat them then. So they're all for me?
They are all for you.
All for me, all for me.